the best thing that have happened last year drilling was that we were able to test the vertical continuation of the system in all 5 drill holes that were drilled into the porphyry, and that really allowed us now to go aggressive. Now we have a lot more room, and we have a lot better understanding of the system, so we can step out and better design a drill program that can be expanded.
Well, hello, and thanks for tuning in. As always, I'm sitting down today with Fiore Aliperti, CEO, and Dr. Abdul Razique, Chief Geologist of Metallis Resources. Gentlemen, great to have you both on the show. How you doing today?
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So I know, Razique, I had you on. It doesn't seem like too long ago, but I think it's almost been 2 months. And Fiore, it's been a while since we had you on the show. I see you got your scarf on this morning.
It's getting cold.
Trying to stay warm in balmy Vancouver, right?
Yes. Apparently, it's going to be minus 13 in a couple of days. So I'm getting prepared.
I see. Well, I feel sorry for you guys, but I'll trade you my minus 53 prairies weather any day. Just so you're.
Yeah, we need that. It's a good preparation for this field season, by the way.
Yeah, there you go. So, exciting times at Metallis. You put some news out today. So let's start there, because that's what everyone's going to be talking about.
Sure.
So it was a good release. I think the wording was pretty simple. But for those that are reading it, I'll start with you, Razique. What do you think are the key takeaways that investors should get from the release, the things that they should focus on?
Well, I think it really opens up the scale and volume potential of this system. Within this 4 kilometers porphyry corridor at Miles, for the first time, this hole 37, which we call it a discovery hole, hit some high grade mineralization within the sediments, and so now the high grade gold is not just restricted to the porphyry itself, but all the sediments in between, especially the calcareous, limey, siltstone, sandstone packages are also very well mineralized, and the geometry, actually the structure and geometry, it really opens up these the avenues for size potential further to the north, to the south, and at a depth.
And this is open in all directions, right? Like this, everything is still open north, to the south, and at depth, right?
Absolutely. As you can see, the gold grades, the copper gold grades within these drill holes are, within a lower footwall block of the Holocene monzonite in this area at Miles, and it really overlaps with a very strong, prominent IP resistivity high, and it's open to the north and to the south. Plus, I'm more excited about its depth potential, because the sediments are kind of steeply west dipping, subparallel to the porphyry intrusions.
Okay, and this is your deepest intercept yet, I believe, and you did hit better grades here. Like the gold grades are obviously higher, I think at double, if I'm not mistaken, or more than what you had previously. So this obviously validates the theory that we had talked about it in our deep dive you and I did, Razique, about how you expected grades to increase with depth, and this seems to validate that theory then.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this year, one of the major breakthrough was to confirm that increasing grade with depth and its continuity with depth. We had high grade gold kicks in the past in other drill campaigns all along the Holocene monzonite complex, especially in the Cliff Miles porphyry corridor. So building on that, we started to target these highly silicified siltstone units, which are more calcareous in nature, and they're really reactive to hydrothermal fluids that can precipitate or trap gold. And plus, you apply the structural components. So these structural, I would call them structural traps, and it's a very confined system, and you can have endless depth potential. And we haven't tested that system that far yet, and we've only tested down to say 400 or 500 meters at best.
Okay, and this intercept, by the looks of it, is about 500 meters below the surface. So, I mean, you're deep, but you're still you're not like super deep yet. How does this compare, or are you able to compare, intersecting this type of, mineralization at 500 meters, say, compared to some of the other, bulk tonnage style deposits in the Golden Triangle that you and I have talked about, Red Chris, KSM, etc.?
Yeah, I remember if you look at the exploration or the history of discovery of Saddle North or Red Chris, they had very limited alteration footprint at surface, and because these systems are really structurally controlled, they tend to grow. All these dike-like tabular bodies at shallow levels actually connect to each other and grow exponentially at depth. And I would say Deep Ker is a very good example where you can see a limited footprint of 400-500 meters at surface, and it grows down to over a kilometer width-wise. And the vertical depth extent is up to 1,500 meters. I mean, that one drill hole that they drilled in Red Chris, that was a vertical hole that went down for about over a kilometer of mineralization, and this is exactly what we are trying to achieve here at the Cliff Porphyry system.
So when investors look at this, Razique, and they're looking at, I'm just gonna I'll draw to it these outlines that you put here. Is this to sort of designate the structural controls on the mineralized corridor then?
Exactly. Yeah. So that mineralized corridor would vary with its depth. It would be pinching and swelling, and there would be some sort of shuffling, east, west, north, south, or up and down. And it's the nature of BC porphyries. There's a lot of structural influence on that, but in general, this would be the mineralized corridor, which, as you can see here, would be considered as the footwall block of this structural corridor. And there is a bit of mineralization on the hanging wall also on the east side, but as you can see, the previous drilling and all the grade is kind of concentrated within the footwall block, and that block is, like I said, it's open to the north, south, and at depth. So okay. This is the only one, I would say we only got just one drill hole that gave us this interval of 83 meters of over 0.68 grams per ton gold equivalent, and within that we have those high grade intercepts like 32 grams of 1.2 grams per ton gold, 32 meters. So there is variation within the grade, and there is variation within the volume potential. So there is a lot to be learned about this.
Now, one question I had, as you go deeper here, the way this is drawn, certainly it looks like it's sort of pinching together. So the width is getting, I guess, narrower. Is there potential for that to start to widen out again as you go deeper? Is that on the table?
Yeah, it's a universal porphyry model. Like I said before, the footprint at Red Chris or other porphyry or BC porphyries are pretty limited at surface. But look what they have achieved with more drilling and more studies. These the cupola zones, the upper part of the porphyry centers, the shallow part of the porphyry centers are always like a dike-like geometry. And they're more tabular in nature, and there's a lot more structural control to that. But as these porphyry dikes and these tabular bodies go down at depth, and they tend to meet each other, and they tend to join and connect each other, and eventually they end up with a massive stock. And so you would see this flaring up of the hydrothermal fluids at surface at shallow levels. Because of the less lithostatic pressure, the intrusives and the fluids actually flare out at surface, and then they kind of narrow down, and then at depth it grows again. And it's a universal porphyry model that that can be applied anywhere in any porphyry deposit, and we're optimistic about this, and that's why we are targeting these deeper high-grade gold zones.
Okay. So we do have the plan view here as well. This was another graphic that you include with the news release. So I guess it helps to put things in context of, where some of the historical drilling was. So I know one of the goals as well of the summer drill campaign for last year was to validate the theory about the IP resistivity anomaly. And correct me if I'm wrong, Razique, you have superimposed the colors. So the colors that people are seeing on this graphic are is the resistivity measurements, right? Superimposed onto the plan view.
That's correct.
So we're seeing, say I'm going to put an arrow here. So here's the hole, and then you have this, this sort of strong resistivity high just to the north. You kind of clip the southern part of the high. Did the drilling sort of help validate the geophysics?
Absolutely, there is a very good exposure at miles in this zone, as and you can clearly see. So, based on the surface geology, surface geochemistry, we already knew that there is a system in the making, and there was already silicification mapped at surface. So, we plan to do IP survey just because we knew that from previous drilling that we knew that there is high grade gold associated with these calcareous siltstone sediments, and especially when they are silicified and resistant. So we knew that relationship, and that's how we designed this IP survey last year. And we had like 11 and 11.8 line kilometers of IP, and that gave us a direct resistivity highs that was directly superimposed the surface geology and its association with the sediments and the porphyry itself. So as a result of that IP, we took the resistivity high, and then we start testing the deeper part of the resistivity anomaly. As you can see in this in this diagram, you can see the anomaly is actually extended from purple, blue, pink, purple to red, and then all the way into yellow and green. But the mineralization does extend within the moderate resistivity. So there is a range of resistivity. If you look at this range, I would say the mineralization or the silicification tend to go all the way in towards the green index.
Okay.
So based on the variation in the IP resistivity and based on the surface footprint of the alteration, we calculated this hole 37 to be stepped out for about 100 meters, step out, and then and direct it towards the IP resistivity high and drill the deeper part of the resistivity high, because previous drill holes have only tested, these previous drill holes they just tested the upper part of the IP resistivity high and the upper part of the system, which tend to be more lower temperature fluid environment, and you get relatively lower grade at really shallow levels. But the same grades, they go double, triple as you go deeper. So one thing that IP did for us was that we were able to outline this zone actually. So we have this north-south linear IP resistivity high that perfectly matches with the structural setting, the footwall block, which is this one, and then it allowed us to model in a cross-sectional view to model this gold zone, which is about 200 meters wide, and it's about 400-500 meters long and 600 meters deep as you look at the cross section.
Okay. So as a follow-up question to what you were saying there, Razique, like if you look at this hole number 3 from 2009, it looks like it's drilled almost into the center of that resistivity high. But when, you know, obviously when we look at the cross-section view, that's a much shallower hole. So is it correct then that even though it looks on plan view like that hole was drilled into the, you know, the center, and you got, you know, arguably inferior grades to what you saw on this newest hole, it's because this hole was a lot shallower and it's not really fully getting to the target that you want to get to, that you were better able to get with this deeper hole number 37 this year, or 2020, yes. I guess.
Exactly, that's the case. Yeah, that's exactly what we did. We tried to test this superficial mineralization at greater depth, and we achieved our target, and we confirmed the continuity of mineralization for about 600 meters from top to bottom.
Okay. And maybe one last question here, Razique. I did notice this last little bit of the hole number 37. It looks like it's moving out of that calcareous siltstone into what looks like the porphyry phase before it disappears into the shale. And it doesn't look like it's mineralized there. Was that a surprise to you?
No, it was not a surprise to me at all. We knew that the contact is somewhere around there, and but it's just sorry, it's just something to do with the way you look at this 3D view. You know, if you spin it around, you will find that contact coming all along that just where the grade ends, and that contact is actually very well defined on the western margin, where the siltstone sediments are in contact with gray wacky and black shale. So the gray wacky and black shale are actually the background rocks. But as soon as you get in centrally into the system, into the siltstone sandstone units, you get good gold grades. But you know, like I said, if you go back to the plan view, this drill hole is actually drilled between the two holes. Yeah. So hole 37 is actually drilled between 3 and 5, and the porphyry. If you go back to the section, the porphyry in 5 and the porphyry in 3 are on either side of 37. So 37 is actually drilled in between the two intrusives. So these intrusives and these grade, they do extend all the way at depth, and here in between you have sandwich sediments like the traditional the regular stratigraphy, where your silicic clastic rocks are in contact with black shale and gray wacky, but that doesn't surprise me at all.
Okay, so if I'm to understand what you're saying right, if I were to draw this arrow here, where the tip of that arrow is, that's actually where you're transitioning from the calcareous siltstone directly into that shale gray wacky. You're not actually going through porphyry. It's just the way this looks in 3D. It looks like, you know, there's a section there, but that doesn't actually exist. The transition is from the sediments right into the shale. Into the
shale. That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. There you go. Okay, that makes sense.
There's no porphyry drilled in this one. So that porphyry is actually to the south or to the north, you know, the intrusive.
Okay. Well, I think you guys did a great job on the graphics. You know, you kept things simple, and, you know, it's nice to see the superimposition of the IP on top of everything. I think it, you know, gives people a good idea of, you know, getting the plan view and the section view to be able to piece together the information. Fiore, maybe I'll switch to you for a second. I know part of the strategy at Metallis in 2020, you know, you're looking to protect the share structure. You want to be diligent with your resources, very strategic with, you know, where you're placing your holes. That strategy, you know, is that strategy expected to continue? Do you expect to continue to be, you know, at this stage in the exploration, really being careful with how you place your holes, and, you know, and not trying to raise like a bunch of money right now to blow the share structure up? How does the strategy look going
forward? Good question. First of all, I wanted to piggyback on Razique's message. The 5 drill holes that we did last summer, or this past year, were very strategic, and we were obviously trying to answer the questions of, does it get richer when you go deeper? And, does this thing continue? And the other question, or our goal was to, because of the prior drilling, is the calcareous zones. Is it rich in gold? Does it extend? Is it big? So I'm quite pleased that we've answered those questions, and it's there. We are starting to have a lot more confident that it's there. So in saying that, these 5 holes were strategically put, and going forward, we want to continue on that path. Do I want to be a little bit more aggressive? Yes, I would like to be more aggressive. I would like, we have a lot of knowledge on our team. Razique has assembled an incredible team here. We would like to, add further, understand better, and be more bold and aggressive in drilling. And what does that mean? That means, we need to raise money. We're sitting comfortable right now, but not comfortable to the point where we can do the program that Razique would love to do. So that I wouldn't want to be doing a placement at this level. No, I think we are well undervalued when I look around in the area, and I don't know what other companies have really, and they're very well valued. So I hope I answered your question, John.
Yep. So I think it sounds like the strategy is still to to be strategic and picky. You're not looking to blow the share structure up.
No.
But this is ultimately is going to be a large bulk tonnage target. I think it's fair to say it would be a natural fit for a bigger company to come in and partner with you. When do you think the right time would be to bring someone like that in?
Well, Razique and I have established a good relationship with a couple of the majors. I think once we get all our technical review out of the way, I think we would like to have a meeting with these majors that we have had CA signed in the past. I like to get back to them. We've been in their boardrooms, and I would like to go over what where we're at today. So the sooner the better. That's the way I look at it. And Razique and I have spoken about this. I want him to finish, his technical meetings and get the 3D done. We have Andrew who works on the 3D model with Razique, and once we have all that done, once we have all our information, then I would say that's what I would like to do. That would be our next step.
Okay, so it sounds like there are discussions happening. There's thought being given towards how this is going to transition. And right now, I mean, obviously, I think you probably need more information. You're planning on drilling some more in 2021. With respect to the budget for 2021, do you have an idea of how much, what kind of meterage you're looking to do and what you would maybe be looking to spend on exploration in 2021?
I think we need to, expand the drilling. We need to, now that, we think we're onto something. I think more than think, but I would say that we would need at least 6,000 meters drilled this coming year. And we would need to raise, $5 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that would be the target, about 5 million.
Yeah. Yes.
Razique, when it comes to, I know you still have 3 more holes or 4 more holes to report. This is only the first, but do you have an idea? Like, would you be looking to go potentially even deeper, drill deeper than you did this year, based on what you're seeing so far?
Yeah, I think when it comes back to the question, I would just like to add a bit to Fiore's, strategic approach to the drilling and taking this project forward. I think we've done the best thing because we didn't have enough understanding of the system, and since it is structurally complex and is such a large porphyry corridor, 7.5 kilometer strike length from cliff all the way to Miles, Nina, Cole, and Trevelyan Creek. That was probably the only approach that we could use to go strategic and step by step and slowly, gradually, we step out and start testing the dimensions of the system. And the best thing that have happened last year drilling was that we were able to test the vertical continuation of the system in all 5 drill holes that were drilled into the porphyry, and that really allowed us now to go aggressive. Now we have a lot more room, and we have a lot better understanding of the system, so we can step out and better design a drill program that can be expended for maybe 6,000 or even 10,000, depends on what we get in the core. And that's exactly what the other majors in the past that we were in discussion with, that we had a CA with, they had the same opinion, that it was still an early stage project for them, and they are closely monitoring and watching us, and once in a while I give them then an update, and we established the control of mineralization. We established the structural input. We have identified, the main ore grade porphyry, which was the early stage. We call it the M porphyry, and then there is the C porphyry, which is coarser grain, and the breccias. And now we have a better understanding of where the high grade gold is actually within those hydrothermal breccias with more silicified zones that are trapped between different structures. So with our 3D modeling and our geological understanding, we can, better design a much bigger program this year.
And John, I wanted to add to Razique's, understanding these calcareous zones and knowing that they're there and hitting them, it's widened our it's extended our porphyry. It's a much bigger than we thought, right? With the addition of these zones. Razique can explain that better than I can.
Yeah, I was thinking about leaving that for the next news release.
Okay, I'm going to shut up. I apologize.
Gotta leave a little bit of meat on the bone there.
Well, I think I've mentioned in this news release also in my quote, if you look at my quote, I quoted that the steeply west dipping siltstone sediments, that actually opened up an outstanding opportunity for us to test these zones. As long as they are within the proximity of the porphyry, as long as they are in contact with the intrusives, those are actually the spots to hit for high grade gold mineralization. And we know that the stratigraphy, they never ends, they never cut off. If you got a package of sediments, greywacke, siltstone, sandstone, and you get a stratigraphic succession, it goes for forever. So that's a good thing, that we got the most favorable host rocks in that area. That's what we established in these deep drill holes, and that's going to come next.
Okay. Maybe one last question on the drilling. Would you potentially consider in 2021 a completely vertical hole, like you've seen, you mentioned earlier, I think Razique, like they did at Deep Kerr? Would you potentially do a completely vertical hole to test the depth extent, or would you be continuing to cut in from the edges?
I would say you're right. That's a very good question to test deeper, and we are always trying to find ways how to test deeper because of the topography and because of the limitation, and because we are at the very top end of the porphyry system, and it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have, because your porphyry system is actually preserved. It's not been eroded away like in some of the other porphyry systems where you start from potassic already. But yeah, coming back to your question, yeah, definitely. It won't be vertical, but I would say at a very steep angle, because we do
Okay.
want to go across the trend also. We don't want to be in one unit forever, because like I said, in our 3D modeling, the bodies are pretty steep, vertical, subvertical. So we want to keep some angle to cut
Right.
across the trend. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Fiore, I have maybe one last question. We'll
Yes,
keep it
please.
short and sweet, but you
That's
can
fine.
probably, I bet you can guess where I'm going. I just have to get your take. There's been some big news announced late last week with a couple of your neighbors, Eskay Resources acquiring, I believe, about 19.5% of Garibaldi. Your thoughts on that, what it could mean for you?
Well, one thing that I pride myself on is bringing a different outlook into the mining sector. I didn't grow up in the mining sector, and that's working, with your neighbors and working, as a team. With Garibaldi, Steve and I have a very good relationship, and our geophysicist, Jules Lajoie, is both on both. It works for both companies. And we already are in talks of a joint ZTEM with Garibaldi, going from the top of Nickel Mountain all the way down, so we can look at anything that's deep-seated. And we also started talking about the possibility of doing IP across from the canine all the way through to look at any sulfides, which IP has helped us tremendously, as Razique has pointed out earlier today. So we are working together with our partner on the north. And regarding Eskay Mining, Mac and I are very good friends, and there is a conversation regarding the hair mill towards our border. So it's hair mill going west for Mac, and it's me going east for Metallis going east the other way. We are, Razique has just put together and sent through a proposal for a ZTEM over the Halwison monzonite, the whole complex. It's quite aggressive. I don't know if you know, John, that a ZTEM has to go 10 kilometers east to west or west to east. So we would have to be 2.5 kilometers off our borders. I've spoke to Mac about that, and we're going to share information as he shares information on his SkyTEM that he's coming across our side. So we're working together between all the companies. I don't know if
there's good collaboration going on then.
Yes, and as we share Dr. Lightfoot in all three companies, Eskay and Garibaldi and Metallis. Dr. Lightfoot has worked for all three companies. So it's a work in progress. Razique has had meetings with. Did you speak with Dr. Hennings? Or
I had a long conversation with Jules Lawa, who is looking after the geophysics on both sides.
When you spoke with Eskay, when you spoke with Eskay, they're geologists.
Oh yeah, they're geologists. I just got their one of their explanation on how a SkyTEM or a ZTEM would work to outline these conductors. But coming back to the ZTEM that we are thinking to collaborate with GGI, I think there is a geological component to that, John, because the IP really worked for us in identifying the disseminated sulfide mineralization on the Halwison monzonite. That was one of the proposal last year also to Garibaldi to do a ground IP, so that the disseminated kind of nickel sulfides can be detected or outlined. But they are kind of they step back in their approach, and they want to do a ZTEM first. They want to identify an area first, which is actually seeing through deep-seated conductors. And I think it's a good approach. And this is what we should be doing too. Once you Once you have a broader area, for example, they are focused now at the southern end of the Nickel Mountain, flanking all the Nickel Mountain into the Snipperker Creek, into the volcano, into the Thunder North area. So that's one of the area of focus, to find the deep-seated chambers of these, magmatic nickel copper sulfides, and that includes the area within the K9 and within the Thunder North. So once an area, a broader area, is identified based on ZTEM, which I think it's a great idea to do a collaborative ZTEM survey, and then you just narrow down and zoom into an area, and then the IP would play a major role. And I think and that's exactly what we are. The same model applies to the down south to the Olysel monzonite, where we expect to see a deep-seated, a magma chamber, or the main stock, where that's driving all this corridor. So once we identify that, then that'll be the area of focus for more IP, more high-resolution work, more drilling, more depth testing, things at depth. So it's a strategic step-by-step approach that we in Garibaldi are taking. The story on the east side of Kirkham property is a little different, because we are getting into more strata-bound type mineralization, and that's where, just like the Eskay Mining's Jeff and TV properties, they had some success in the drilling through some of those massive, semi-massive sulfide mineralization, VMS type mineralization within the more felsic units, and that's exactly what we are trying to achieve by doing a collaborative ZTEM survey in that area also, and see what conductors can be outlined first to go there, because they're really early stage, fresh targets, never been looked at before, and they're completely covered under vegetation. So geophysics may be playing a major role in that.
Okay. Well, interesting times as always, gentlemen. It was great to have you both on. It's good to see you again. And it sounds like there should be some more news coming shortly, hopefully, on some more holes. So obviously we'll be keeping an eye on that. Until then, you guys managed to stay warm in Vancouver.
We'll try.
Yeah.
Thanks,
right.
Okay. Well, and until next time, gents, you take care.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, John. Have a good one.